Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 1 Part 5 of What If Deku Was in Class 1B. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat, so we begin. The hand villain closed in on All Might with Kurogiri close behind as the hero stood still, using all his strength just to stay in his current form. It was the worst possible scenario, as even a single hit would break the Pillar of Peace. All Might's mind spun with panic as he pleaded for backup. Slam, Midoriya, Monoma yelled out, shocked because the greenette was next to him just a second ago. Izuku's body had jumped forward on its own as he couldn't just wait and stand by for Takage's barrage of scaled skin to attack. Takage gasped as her eyes saw the freckled boy's legs flutter and immediately knew that they were both broken. Izuku's body was falling straight towards Kurogiri with his fist pulled back, an angry glint in his eye as he yelled, "Don't you dare touch All Might, you stupid villain." In a split second, the hand villain thrust his arm through a portal, and time seemed to stop as Izuku could only see red. The hand was mere inches from his face, and All Might could do nothing but stand there. Deku, an aggressive barrage of azure-scaled skin, used the momentum of its descent to bombard the approaching blue-haired villain from all sides. Takage wobbled a little as she regenerated her decayed parts, as it took more energy than expected. With the hand villain distracted, Monoma, who was using Takage's quirk, grabbed Izuku's injured body to move out the way just as the USJ doors slammed open. Pow! Blood splattered out, and Izuku looked to see that the blue-haired villain's hand had a gunshot wound in it. The students then turned to see Snipe standing there with a hand outstretched and a gun pointed forward. A few more shots rang out, helping anyone in the rescue facility who struggled with the number of small-time villains as a mop of white hair appeared in the teacher's shadow. The darkness has brought help. Kiwara pulled himself out, and behind him stood the UA teachers, ready to fight with their presence already intimidating enough, as President Mike was the first to attack. He stood by the edge of the stairs and inhaled deeply. Yahhhh. Powerful sound waves blasted forward, and all the nearby villains grabbed at their skulls. They desperately tried to save their eardrums as they could feel themselves become lightheaded and fainted on the spot. Ectoplasm opened his mouth as a white light escaped, quickly becoming clones and running forward. With swift kicks, the clones knocked out all the remaining villains. The pros are here. The unnamed villain backed toward Kurogiri as he observed the situation. It's game over for real. He clutched his bleeding hand as he turned around. Let's go home and try win. His raspy voice was cut short as bullets went through his knees, dragging the villain to the floor as a cape of mist came forward. Acting like a shield, the warp villain covered the other, deflecting the bullets and sending them elsewhere. Let's go. But before he could teleport them away, his body started to pull apart, and in a panic, Kurogiri turned to see Vlad supporting 13. Black Hole. The rescue hero had all 5 caps on her fingers taken off, causing the mist to struggle as he was getting dragged piece by piece. However, it was too late as the villains disappeared with the hand villain's words hanging in the air. I wasn't able to kill you this time, but your days are numbered, All Might. They disappeared, and Izuku let out a sigh. Annoyed he couldn't help much, but grateful All Might was alive. The pros quickly took control, and Recovery Girl checked up all the students before the press caught hold of them. Luckily for them, it didn't last too long, and the media sent them home without much hassle. In a dimly lit bar, location unknown, the blue-haired villain landed on the ground with blood dripping down his hand-covered limbs. Shot in both arms and legs, all those underlings wiped out. Even Nama was beaten. The symbol of peace wasn't weakened at all. You were wrong, Master. So wrong. A voice crackled over a TV. No, I wasn't. We just weren't as prepared as we should have been. Another voice spoke out for the Nama when the hand villain rasped out. There was a kid there who tried to protect All Might. He was just as fast as him. The statement piqued the voice's interest as the villain grumbled and complained. Naturally, you're upset. The voice spoke before the air became heavy around the bar. The world will soon learn to be afraid of you. Tamura Shigaraki, with no way of knowing that the USJ attack was just the beginning. Trouble was already starting to bubble across the horizon. The school was closed the day after, letting the students take a break, but it was tough for Izuku to relax. All he could think about was how the symbol of peace only had an hour's worth of his hero form, and it left the greenette distraught. Although in the end, he just further solidified his resolve to become a hero. Did you see the news last night? Komori was in her idle mode and happily danced around the classroom. That was my first few seconds of screen time. I'm getting closer to my dream. Making the news was the class's topic of conversation, and every student had bounced back from the incident. More conversations bubbled about as Izuku looked at the time and stood up. Sit down, guys. Vlad SH should be here soon. The stutter wasn't completely gone yet, But there was an improvement as Izuku was a lot more closer to his classmates after the incident. They sat down in their chairs as the door was kicked open. Morning, class. Vlad King was known for his strength and stamina. But the class still worried as their teacher's shoulders and neck were in braces. Vlad cut off their worry, however, as he gave them an announcement. You better get training. The UA Sports Festival is around the corner, kids. It was an opportunity where students had the chance to be scouted. And it only happens once a year and 3 times in a lifetime. It was an event no hero in training could let slip by. Homeroom ended early. And the second Vlad left, 1B got ready to head to their next class but were promptly stopped. A sea of students blocked their way out. And before Izuku could question anyone, a yell made everyone quiet and down. Deku. A blonde figure immediately jumped forward at the sight of Izuku. And the greenette was body slammed to the floor. Kaken, before anyone could say anything. An angry string of questions rained down. Do you think you're better than me because you've got some fame? Kaiba, stop looking down on me. Deku, I won't lose to a whiny nerd like you. Monoma stepped forward and lifted his chin high to look down on Bakugo. Well, if it isn't the yappy dog from Class 1A. Tension grew as Monoma picked a fight. And both blondes just glared at each other, deciding to ignore Monoma. Bakugo turned to glare at Izuku. I'm winning the UA Sports Festival. Deku, you better not hold back that stupid hidden power of yours. Izuku took the words as a challenge and nodded, only further agitating Bakugo, but before he could yell any more, Kendo appeared. With a swift chop to the neck, Bakugo slumped unconscious, and she gave a sweet smile. Allow me as a class rep to say sorry guys, I'll bring him back. It was the last time Izuku saw Bakugo for a while. And with the sports festival 2 weeks away, the class separated to train their quirks. The day came, and Izuku waved his mother goodbye as she wished him her best. He nodded back, determined as All Might's words rang in his mind. I have to tell the world, I am here. Now for the introductory speech. The R-rated hero Midnight stood on the podium as she welcomed everyone after President Mike's screaming introduction. Now for the student pledge. The top student of the entrance exam, Katsuki Bakugo. The blonde trudged up the stairs, hands in his pockets as every UA student stood silent. I just want to say, I'm going to win. Oh God, I knew he was going to say something like that. A wave of students immediately booed Bakugo and caused a small riot as a one student told the blonde off, waving his arms like a robot. It's not my fault the rest of you losers are just stepping stones to my victory. I'm going to crush this overconfident jerk, yelled Tetsu. And the blonde left the stage. Midnight quieted the crowd and spun the deciding wheel of the first round. Obstacle race. Mike yelled out as Midnight explained the students were free to do anything to win. I have to be smart about this. I'm still unable to control one for all yet, so I have to be careful when I use it. The starting lights changed. I hope you're watching. All Might. Begin. An immediate rush of students ran forward, everyone shoving as hard as possible toward the narrow entrance. It didn't take long to figure out the doorway was the first obstacle as students were packed too tightly to move. Cold air blew past, and within a second, the whole area was frozen solid in ice. A single one student ran ahead, creating an icy path as he did as the most competent students started to pull forward. This meant 1B students, although they stumbled as the zero-pointer robots from the entrance exam appeared. A crooked smile was on Izuku's lips as Todoroki from one froze the robots and pulled further ahead. Come on, Izuku, you need to beat this. Tetsu came smashing out of a frozen robot, yelling a battle cry as others in 1B followed. Bondo and Awace both stuck the robots to the floor, making some creak as they slipped past. Kaibara quickly sped past with his feet spinning like drills and using his momentum to get ahead. Kamakiri was dodging around, cutting whole chunks off as he did. Kodai simply used her quirk to shrink the zero-pointers to half their size and run past before increasing them again. Honuki expertly softened the ground, and 4 robots immediately started to lose footing and came crashing down. No wonder he's a recommendation student, Izuku thought as the homeroom teacher of Class 1A. Aizawa added his own input. It's not that one or the other students are doing poorly. Some know how to proceed forward like Todoroki. He started, having a look at the students who pulled ahead. It's just that Class 1B have learned not to hesitate. It seems that they have grown. All of them, from the USJ attack because they know they have to move quickly if they want to survive. Izuku held onto a piece of scrap metal and was taking advantage of the robot's momentum. He took their joints out and ran ahead. Takage stared down into the depths of the next obstacle. If they take a spill, they're out. If you want to pass, you'll have to get creative. It's the fall. Mike's voice rang out as most of 1B stared at the ropes connecting the vertical cylinders of land. Kiruwara was someone who didn't hesitate as he jumped into the darkness of the fall and quickly sped forward. His presence only seen with his white hair purposely shown to stick out. Sit back and enjoy the show. A girl with pink hair and eccentric goggles from the support course shot a grappling hook out and jumped in with a heated laugh. Look at my super cute babies. Shizaki followed suit as her vines grabbed one side of land from the other. And she lifted herself elegantly. It was advantageous. Almost replicating what she did in the shipwreck zone of the USJ with her white tunic fluttering against the wind. Takage just levitated after splitting her body into a few parts and started to make her way across. The leader of the pack is easily getting through first. Mike yelled out as Todoroki from Wano cleared the fall course and ran down the curved path to the final barrier. Izuku had the scrap metal tied to his body by a rope as he crossed the fall upside down, relying on only body strength as he was determined to catch up. He then saw Monoma land ahead but stop, climbing onto land, clearing the fall course. Izuku paused for a second. Why did you stop? Monoma, who was using Kaibara's gyrate quirk, wasn't pulling ahead like the others despite having a chance to come in the top 10. Because I don't want to be first. Getting first will put you at a disadvantage next round. I'm planning to win the war, not the battle. A couple of students caught up to them, and Monoma braced himself before springing away. Mike yelled over the intercom that the final obstacle was a minefield just as Izuku started to run, with the scrap metal slowing him down. Komori pulled ahead despite being just behind earlier, and a couple of Wana students followed suit. Some others were sent flying back with a flashy bang as they detonated the mines. And Todoroki slowed down. It was an obstacle that put those in the lead at a disadvantage. We got a new lead. Mike announced that Bakugo had just blasted himself into the lead before talking about the rest, who were also speeding up. Mines detonated as Ida from Wano ran forward, his speed fast enough so that the mines exploding didn't matter. Shizaki, Honuki, Takage, Kamakiri, Manga, and Yanagi were among those in the leading crowd as Izuku just reached the minefield. He looked ahead to see Bakugo and Todoroki furiously fighting against each other, explosions and ice shooting out as they struggled for first place. Monoma's words lingered in his mind for a second, but he shook them off. I need to show the world that Izuku Midoriya is here. Seeing how far the lead was to his own position, Izuku lifted the scrap and dug into the ground. It was chaos in the minefield as 1B mixed with Wana and a couple of other students from both the support course and general studies. Izuku took a step back, clenching his teeth as he held the scrap metal in his hands. I'm gonna borrow your idea. Kakin, an explosion, too large for it to be a typical mine, exploded, and the two tied in first paused to look back at the pink smoke expanding. There's a huge explosion at the back, Mike yelled out as a wave of blinding light and pressure caught many off guard. Yeah, was it on purpose or accident? Class B's Midoriya is in hot pursuit with that blast. Izuku had figured out that the game's landmines were the type with fuses that go off by being stepped on. Not powerful alone, but if many were gathered, he could blast over the course like Bakugo. He was at the very end of his class since he had hesitated briefly. But Izuku didn't care about thinking ahead. He wanted to make an impression, which was why he dived headfirst with the scrap in hand into the mines. Todoroki and Bakugo have stopped fighting, Mike yelled as the explosive blonde ignored the other and tried to gain ground. The ice user did the same, ignoring how he made a path for those behind him as he started to skate across the mines. I didn't think about landing. Izuku was neck and neck with Bakugo and Todoroki as he started to descend, eyes only focused on his next step. Deku, you won't get ahead of me. The blonde pulled ahead with another explosion, and Izuku frantically looked for an answer. I'm losing speed. They're pulling away. Teeth grit as the two sped ahead. Izuku grabbed onto the metal slab with determination in his eyes. I can't just land here, slamming the scrap to the floor. Izuku caused another explosion just as Bakugo and Todoroki cleared the minefield. They're neck and neck, Mike yelled out as the trio ran as hard as they could. They reached the corridor, and Bakugo let out a yell, another explosion escaping his sweaty palms as he pushed ahead. Ice filled the other side of the corridor as Todoroki also pushed his limits, and Izuku could only keep running as the two pulled ahead last second, the three tumbling into the light of the stadium. In first place is Shototodoroki. The crowd went wild as Mike announced the others too. Bakugo in second and Izuku in third. Many spectators turned to Endeavor, who stood in the crowd, but the prideful man's expression didn't change. Rather than proud, he looked annoyed, which contrasted to All Might in his civilian form. Toshinori also sat in the stands, But he wore a proud smile because Izuku had gotten third place with tenacity alone. Shizaki let out a gentle huff as she came tumbling and forth along with Honuki, who slid into the stadium. Bakugo grabbed his shaking arms as a pissed-off look slapped itself onto his face. His body was quivering as he swore under his breath. Todoroki's body was frozen, but his face returned to its stoic, unfriendly features with a huff of steam. The winner of the race then glanced at both Bakugo and Izuku before turning away and walking off. "Man, that was amazing, Deku." Izuku turned to see Awase giving him a pat on the back before wobbling off to see the others who passed. The cheering continued as more students followed. And by the end of it, the whole of Class A and B had both passed along with 2 other students from other courses. Takage also congratulated him on getting third place, and the overconfident girls showered him in praise. The male greenette was reduced to a blushing mess as he covered his pink face in his arms. I still have a long way to go." Takage just chuckled as she looked at the gate. "Monoma," she called to the blonde, who casually hopped in at 38th place. "You took your sweet time." She laughed as Monoma didn't seem to have sweat a drop in comparison to her. The blonde only shook his head as the trio turned to see a commotion. Momo, the girl who accompanied Kendo to collect Bakugo whenever he ran off, was trying to pry a small grape-like boy off her back. He was screaming about how he was a genius as midnight announced the first stage over. The results board displayed their images and their rankings. Todoroki, Bakugo, Izuku, Shizaki, Honuki, Tenya Ada, Fumikage Takoyami, Tetsu, and all the others who came after. And at the very end, a boy from 1A, Yuga Aoyama, looked as if he was ready to collapse, clutching his stomach. The first 4th to make it through to the next round. The real competition begins next. The cavalry battle. Give it your all. Monoma looked smug as Midnight explained the rules. It's your ordinary battle made up of teams between 2 and 4. However, the difference is based on the results of your last game. Each person has been assigned a point value, going up by 5, starting from the bottom. Monoma nodded as if he predicted this as Midnight pointed to a display board. So 42nd gets 5 points, and 41st gets 10. She dramatically paused before looking at Todoroki, and the assigned value for first place is 10 billion. There was no change of expression on Todoroki's face as he ignored the sudden stares. After all, he was now a target because anyone who took him down would pass to the next round. Yet, just like Endeavor, it didn't faze the bi-colored teen in the least. Midnight carried on explaining by informing them of the 15-minute time limit and the other rules. So the more you steal, the harder it is to keep them all since you can only wear them neck up. Takage asked the already muttering Izuku and analyzing Monoma. The annoying thing is that even if you have no points or fall, you're not out. So there is permanently about 10 to 12 teams trying to grab points. Then it's the case of your overall point. A smaller point team would do better in an effective attack near the end while a heavy point team needs to hold on the whole time. So that's why you took your time. Takage gasped, and Izuku nodded, seeing how it was smart. One part of him wished he did the same. But the greenette didn't regret pushing as hard as he did. He needed to tell the world, I am here. With quirks permitted as long as they don't make people fall on purpose. They had 15 minutes to start building their teams. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video, as well as the editor for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals. Have a fantastic day.